is a very apt topic. Thank you once again for creating this platform where we can share interesting ideas. There are three quick things that I would like to bring on table. First is the what part of it. And as we all understand, the sustainability is a big spectrum. And one important part of that is electronics industry. We all use electronic goods and we all make use of so many different gadgets, and inside these electronic gadgets we have ICs, integrated circuits, and we crossed the era of VLSI, very large scale integration, couple of decades back, and right now we are in an era, we also crossed ASICs, application specific integrated circuits, and right now we are in an era of SoCs, systems on chip. And do you know what we do with the electronic goods which become obsolete? Till 2010, and we all know that electronic goods, they go obsolete so fast. And till 2010, what we used to do in India is just dump everything on a big ship, take it in the Arabian Sea and dump it in the sea. This is what we used to do with the electronic West, the E-West. And then in 2011, the first electronic policy got published. And there is a beautiful concept. It's called reconfigurable computing. It's possible to create hardware that can be reconfigured. And instead of throwing it away, if we can reconfigure that, the same hardware can be used again and again and again. This was the technology that was used by China while switching from 4G to 5G. And they could do this switch within 5 minutes. So at midnight, all the routers were switched off. They got reconfigured in 5 minutes. And within 5 minutes, the transition took place from 4G to 5G. Otherwise, just imagine how much of infra, the digital infra, the physical infra goes into it. The number of towers, the electronic gadgets, the routers, intelligent drivers, scoopers, and all of that would go obsolete. And that's why it's extremely important. We are surrounded with electronics, and that's why if you're looking for a good area to do research and start your startup, then look into reconfigurable computing. Huge support is available from government as well. A very important aspect of sustainable technologies. The second aspect I wanted to touch upon was why. To be very honest with you, in our country, traditionally, we believe in sustainable technologies. In 2023, we celebrated G20 India edition, and the tagline of that was Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We believe in one earth, one family. And there is a beautiful verse in Sanskrit, and it says that those with lion heart, they always think of the entire universe as one single family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And that's why it's very important to also look back into our traditions. We used to eat on banana leaves. Isn't that a very interesting example of sustainable technology? No wastage, everything goes back into soil. And that's why conventionally, traditionally, we are a country who believes in having technologies which are sustainable. It's important to go back to our roots, check back what our intelligent ancestors were doing, and bring back those good practices with us. The third aspect, how to go about doing it, and which is extremely important. There is difference between talking the talk and walking the talk. How do we practice this? How do we make this happen? In my opinion, it's extremely important to have research culture in our institutions. It's very important that our young minds, they should be able to think independently. Unfortunately, the British educational system, what it has done to us is, we get into habit of copying each other so subtly, and then we miss out on this very important and interesting aspect of thinking independently. I will give you a quick example. I was in 10th standard, and a beautiful subject like maths, and the last chapter in mathematics was on share market, and there were some 8 sums, and almost every student had mugged up all those 8 sums. And in one of the sums, the sum was Geeta and Sita owns some XYZ private limited company, and the share distribution was given and the profit margins were given, and so on and so forth. Now in the examination, the question appeared and it said Ram and Shyam owns XYZ private limited company, and 99% of the students, this is a reality, this is not some made up story that I'm telling you, this is real fact. 99% of the students, they wrote question is incorrect. The company is not owned by Ram and Shyam, it is owned by Sita and Geeta. So that's what sometimes education does to us. And there is this popular saying by Mark Twain. He says, I was born intelligent and then I got educated. And research is not only academic research where we publish publications in reputed journals. That's the icing on the cake. I'm talking about the actual cake that we need to bake. And that is our mindset. It's extremely important to not accept things blindly. If you rewind and go back in the school days, you will realize how many things were told to us. We blindly accepted those things and reproduced them at the time of examination. It's extremely important to think about it independently. It's extremely important to create our own perspective, without which we will not be able to create product companies. Now, why I'm bringing this on table, I will conclude in a minute or two, is because if we really want to have such kind of ecosystem which is towards catering to sustainable technologies, the product companies are going to drive it. And unless we have product companies in our country, it's very difficult to bring out that change. One of the fastest growing sectors in our country is IT sector. And if I ask you which is the largest Indian company in IT sector of Indian origin, what is the answer of this question? Infosys is second largest, TCS, and TCS is Tata Consultancy Services. So very openly we are saying that we are into providing services predominantly. From providing services, getting into solutions, to applications, to tools, to frameworks, and finally integrating all of this into products. It's a long journey. And if we really want to create ecosystem that will have sustainable technologies, it's important to have product companies. And that's why let's start walking the path. Many sweet technological scientific accidents are then bound to happen, and let's also get into space of creating IPs, intellectual properties. It's very important. India should become leader in producing patents and intellectual property, and only then we'll be able to produce product companies in our country. On that note, I will stop here. One important aspect of sustainability is design and how you manage commodities which are irreversible and priceless. Very important, very interesting question. And conventionally again, I don't know how many of you chant Atharva Shirsha. It says Tam Jnanamayo Vijnanamayosi. So Jnan and Vijnan, science and spirituality, it always goes hand in hand. And it's extremely important for two reasons in my opinion. First, like Raman sir said, it's important to have clear vision. But it's also important to have big picture in our mind. Many times the shorter gains are long-term losses and short-term losses are long-term gains. And it's very important for the budding entrepreneurs to understand this. They should invest into something that will give them longer goals and sustainable ecosystem for creating an empire of their own. And if you don't understand this at this point in time, it will be very difficult, because then once you are into that rat race, it's very difficult to come out of that. And that's why having a good spiritual background and backing up your businesses with goals which are good for the human society at large is extremely important. Once you create something which is not going to biodegrade, it's very difficult to then come out of that loop. If you are producing plastic, and when I say plastic, I'm talking about it figuratively. Once you create plastic, so anything which is not degradable, it's very difficult to come out of that cycle. And that's why starting on the right note is extremely important. One quick example. Since the tagline of this institute is Arise and Awake, and lot of inspiration taken from Swami Vivekanand. Swami Vivekanand went to United States, and we all know in 1893 on 9/11, he spoke in all religion parliament at Chicago, and he said, "Sisters and brothers of America." The same day in 2001, the Twin Towers were brought down. It was an attack in the heart of Manhattan. The two towers were brought down. So this is what can happen if you have technology and if you don't have spiritual backing. If you have blend of both, then many beautiful things can happen. And that's why Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That's why one family, one goal. We all are united, and our work should be towards the betterment of humankind at large.